All right, this is Bighorn 3's 2017 facility plan meeting with the School Facilities Department, and we'll introduce ourselves first.
John Rexis, Project Manager for Bighorn District 3.
Brandon Finney, Finance.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
And Troy Decker, Planning.
Amber Leach, Planning.
At the district side, Barry Bryant, Superintendent.
Joe Frisella, Maintenance.
And Joe Sylvester on the school board.
Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. As stated earlier before we started recording, we are having a little bit of feedback on mics, so the district will just unmute themselves when they need to talk, and we'll let you talk away. So with that, thank you for the documents that you've prepared for this meeting. It's just as our annual meeting. We meet with each school district each year. I think this one is particularly interesting because of the financial challenges facing the state of Wyoming in the coming years, at present as well as future. And then just looking at each district and your needs and what you're doing with major maintenance and just other things pertaining to facility planning as a whole. So thank you for joining us. We are being joined by a go-to meeting today. We have Barry, and we've got Joe Frisella, and Sandy, I take it, is not Barry there.
No, Sandy retired. It's Sarah Slotman, but she's tied up right now.
Okay, and your school board member again?
Joe Sylvester.
Okay, perfect. So we've added Joe to that and taken Sandy off. All right, perfect. And do we have, Amber, do we have Sarah's new contact information? No. Okay. If you wouldn't mind, Barry, just send us Sarah's contact information, and we'll add her as also a contact as a business manager in place of Sandy. Oh.
Will do.
Okay, great. Our administrator, Shelby Carlson, may be joining us this morning as well. There's another meeting she's responsible for. So if she steps in, we'll have her introduce herself, and then we'll just continue on. So one of the things we did this year that Charlie's worked really hard at is tracks and deeds. He's updated tracks and deeds. He went to the county assessor GIS sites. He's looked on Google Earth. And he's updated both tracks and deeds and property profiles.
And those final versions will actually be uploaded here in the next week or so.
Okay. So just be aware of that, Barry, that we've really worked through. We've also, Charlie's worked real close with WDE in order for our data and their data to match as closely as possible so that when we forward information to them or they forward information to us, there is a correlation of that information, because that has to do with block grant and other things that make a difference in the funding you get. We want to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So we're working directly with them in order to update this stuff and make sure it's accurate. So looking at tracks and deeds or land, you don't have a need for disposition, for acquisition, and you do not have any land leases. And Barry, I'm just going to move on unless you have something to say. Just jump in there. The next thing we want to look at is property profiles. We do have some enhancements here. I'm going to go ahead and it might be smaller than probably. There we go. So as we look through this, one of the first things I look at, and this is your elementary school. We do have final enhancement expenditures on your elementary school, $126,000. But I noticed that you did have an enhancement in relation to the middle school. You had an estimated cost. Do you have now a final expenditure amount for?
Yeah, Troy. That's the final expenditure. We did not do the alternate 5 or 7 that we got approved because of lack of money. The only enhancement that we did to the middle school was we replaced a metal fence with brick and iron, and our cost to do that was at $9,558 that's listed in the piece. That's the only enhancement on the middle school, new middle school.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go in, and he's going to actually make that change updated note as an enhancement note. And then what, did you say you do have a final number on that, Ben?
I'm pretty sure that estimated cost, that is the final number. We did we had to do another, I guess, enhancement deal to the commission. We did that. I can give you exactly. Look it up real quick. I can look it up while if you want to continue on. I can look it up while we're going.
Okay, is that the one? I think we do have it right there. So the bottom one, I think we have it. Change two 25-foot sections of metal panel fence to wrought iron, okay, and brick to match school and allow wind flow between the buildings, that amount. So what you're saying is the alternates 5 and 7 to do cooling coils, the new gymnasium, ventilation units, that kind of stuff. That stuff you did not follow through with.
Correct. Did not follow through because we did not have the money to do it.
All right. So what we want to do is, I think what we can do is we probably could remove. We could put. Let's change that estimated cost. Just to make it simple, well, let's put that to 0, and let's put the enhancement expenditure 0. And then let's have one further note, Charlie, that basically says the enhancements with regard to that larger note on top, that those enhancements were not, those alternative bids were not accepted in the enhancement. So we'll just kind of clarify that in there. And so, okay, I think we're looking good then. And then, of course, our estimate then, the 9558 will go on the bottom one, along with the actual 9558 is the final. Is that good? Okay, I'm at do that, Juju. Okay. All right. Good enhancements then. I think we got caught up. Thank you very much. Now, I wanted to talk about this when I was looking at this earlier, and this involves your project manager with regard. So thank you for bringing this up. So the date on this building then was updated to apparently 2015 on Great Bull Middle School. And then what you're saying is, why would it be updated 2015 when the addition is 16,000, but the other space is 20,200? So this has to do specifically with John and his need to tell us a couple things here. So let me go to our website. So that date on the building apparently was redated.
Should be driven off of the policy.
Yep, it should be. And so let's go.
We can make that correction too.
Let's go back to, I'm going to open this up. Let's go back to Great Bull Middle School. Okay, so here's the middle school. So we didn't make any kind of a change for the addition. We have the same property number. And let me highlight that. What's that on?
That's the buff gym. That's the buff gym.
Okay. All right. So let's look over here. I don't know if that's on general information. So this building was originally 1935, according to Barry.
Which building are we talking about? The one in the picture or the middle school?
The middle school. The middle
Okay.
school. The picture is going to be corrected. 2015, it's been redated to 2015. So what Barry's concern is why is it 2015 when there's only a 16,000 foot addition, square foot addition, but the remaining portion of the building is over 20,000. And so I'm going to show you, Barry, our policies and our current policies, and we do have a determined date of construction. And then I'll, of course, let John kind of address this a little bit because he's more familiar. But basically our policy on redating, if it's a brand new school, it's obviously date of occupancy. But if it's like new schools, substantial remodel of schools generate a date of construction that is often equivalent to the date of occupancy. A substantial remodel is a remodel of more than 50% of the building, whether by value, square footage, or usage, or otherwise. So looking back at our PM then, so they have a 16,000 square foot addition. They have 20,000 some odd square feet left. Why would that be redated at, how is it that this project would encompass more than 50% of their building? Why or why not?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that I'm the one that made that determination, but we did put a new mechanical system in, and probably 5,000 square feet was completely remodeled.
Okay, so
And that's just in the computer classrooms. That doesn't even count the square footage of the locker rooms that were remodeled as well. So that's probably, and I'm just guesstimating here, I would say almost another 5,000, maybe closer to 4,000, because we have some shared common spaces that are on the east side of that building at the entrance that weren't necessarily remodeled. But I don't know how that determination was made. I don't remember being a part of that. Maybe I was, and I'm just not recalling it. But
okay, so
I'd say
Barry,
we're pretty close.
then it sounds to me like we've got about 21,000 square feet with the new addition plus remodeled square feet, and then these numbers are almost switched in reality. Because not only was there an addition and only an addition, there was also remodel of your existing square footage. So over 50% was involved addition and remodel. Therefore, that's why it was redated.
Okay, I will agree to disagree because I think that's a poor. So that doesn't give a. Obviously, I'll obviously follow the rules, but I don't agree with that because that gives a misleading thing. Anybody looks at that, oh, 2015, when that part of that building, yes, we did touch it because we were required because of our lovely person in Riverton to either do a huge firewall or sprinkle the whole building. So we had to sprinkle that whole building to bring it in compliance. So yeah, I guess we did touch every square foot because we had to sprinkle it. But when you look at this, you say, oh, it was built in 2015, what's the deal? I just don't think that gives you a clear picture, so I will agree to disagree.
Hey, Barry, this is Brandon. We're going to be reviewing the dates of the buildings also. We're doing a major maintenance study, and it goes to the select committee in June. So we've got to double check and verify all these, so if we see a discrepancy, we can address it at that time.
The other thing, Barry, Barry, we wanted to let you know, and that is the simple fact that one of the recommendations through FEA to both the select committee and to the commission is to quit. The reason these are being redated is because of phase-in. And you're probably aware of that. There's a 7-year phase-in on major maintenance. That's not only school district buildings, that's actually also state buildings, owned buildings, and there's a 7-year phase-in exact replica percentages. Like year one, it's zero, I think, and then year two, it's 10%, and then jumps up to 30 or something like that, and kind of phases in. One of the recommendations or one of the realities that we're facing is that we do not believe through the studies that FEA has done under our leadership that major maintenance is actually sufficient for you school districts with regard to long-term maintenance of the facilities. So it has been observed and recommended, or at least noted, that taking away the phase-in and starting these buildings, allowing them to generate major maintenance on day one, will help them keep up with deferred maintenance as the years go on, and districts will actually be able to generate money in advance for those expenditures of deferred maintenance 7 years down the road, 8 years, 9 years, 3 years, whatever it is. So we're working on both of those, and we'll come back with another. There will be a review, like Brandon says, and you'll be please pay attention to that as we move forward. And that's one of the things we're looking at, is to actually get away from this dating so that we can start on day one for 100% major maintenance. 100%.
Understand? So based on changing this date, that means I'm going to lose that 36,200 square feet. Will not generate any major maintenance money this coming year.
That's correct.
Based on that date, right?
That's correct. So what I recommend here then is for you and John to get together and review the value, like we were saying, and we'll be more than happy to join you on this. But the policy says a substantial, the question in mind is what is substantial, right? The definition of substantial. Remodel is a remodel more than 50% of the building. It doesn't say what that remodel looks like other than substantial, whether by value, square footage, or usage, or otherwise.
So
Then there's a weighted deal.
I guess the question is, if we have 20% of the building that is 100% remodeled, and another 20% of the building that's 50% remodeled, and 10% of the building that's 10% remodeled, how do you quantify what the total percentage of remodel is?
This policy does not define that.
And we don't have a methodology for that.
I'm working with FBA to develop a policy behind it, probably the policy of what was touched, and it'll be standards and tested. And they're going to help us determine that, because that calculation is going to go in front of the select committee. So it'll standardize all the dates, the method will be consistent, and we'll have the backup for every single deal.
Until then, this is dated 2015, it gets 0 major maintenance.
Yeah, until we get everything in.
Okay. All right. So holistically, it sounds like we're not only going to deal with it. So holistically, it sounds like we're not only going to do in order to apply this consistent.
So we submit. Sorry. So Troy, we submit that it was less than 50%, and because I mean that's a big deal. We're gonna lose that. We're going to lose that 20,000 square feet out of our major maintenance, which is about 10%. So we're standing to lose 10 to 15% of our major maintenance money because of this, and it's not very clear in the policy. And the other thing I would remind the department that, we reused that 20,000 square feet, which saved a lot of capital construction money, but it looks like, to me, then we're going to be screwed in the end because we're saying that building now is built in 2015, so yeah, I just don't agree with it. I just think this is wrong.
And we're noting that in the notes itself, that you have a disagreement with that you feel that the policy is not as clear as it needs to be in order to have a definitive determination. And then we'll also note that we are actually reviewing all of the buildings in the state that have any of these, and will apply a consistent methodology across the board that is equitable to all districts. I was going to look at that date real quick. That was in general information. Kaufman created status history. Like Charlie, would you also see who's changed that date and get back with me, please? I'd like to see. Well, if the date was changed, I assume here we go.
Yeah.
So let's look here.
We changed the date. There you go. JJ did it. They're on the 29th of April of last year.
Okay, so right here is JJ. He's the one that changed that.
Correct.
And then John, you're saying you and JJ didn't have a discussion on that. So
I'm not saying we didn't have a discussion, I just don't recall.
okay. All right. Thank you, Barry. We've noted as your your frustration over that, and that is one thing we're moving forward to apply even more so based on the policy and make even, maybe, is that going to include a possible policy recommendation changes for wording as well, Brandon?
We might have to.
Okay.
We just identified it last week when LSO gave me a call about it.
So with his concern about that, how do you feel about maybe us revisiting with John, sitting down with the district and working through to see if we can, to the best of our ability, verify? I mean, it's an application of policy, but there is no standard formula, and John's right with regard to determining that. Do you want us to review that or just wait for the final outcome?
We're going to have to review it all. So what I want to do is I got the request. I sent all the schools to the legislature, and that's where it started this. So what I want to do is develop the documents first, have the PMs work with each district and go through the process, and then go into AIM, attach every one of them in a consistent manner for all the schools.
Okay. All right. All right. So I think that's the final determiner here, Barry, is basically that date stands until a holistic review is done across the state, and then it will be applied to every district in a consistent manner.
Okay.
Okay, that was a good discussion. I think we've taken notes, and we'll get those back to you. So let's talk about leases. We have 2 modular leases. And down here, I know you've talked about your need for those and the reason you have those. And in the present bill, and we'll be reviewing that in just a few minutes, in the present bill we do have the lease for those 2 modulars to continue for 1 more year. I thought we put some notes right here. Okay. Do you have notes on that?
Yeah.
Right now. I'm going to have Amber read some notes off of this that she's added since this morning. We kind of talked about these leases just a little bit. Just a reminder for you and us with regard to state statute and other things. And these leases, by the way, have to do also with a capacity analysis. As we look at this, your Grable Elementary School, based on the latest October 3 numbers, had 203 restricted capacity, which does not include the modulars. Only building is 245. And so your Grable Elementary School this year is 83%. So 82.86. 82.86. Here's the breakdown.
So when did the restricted, Troy, when did the restricted capacity change? Last year, you guys said the restricted capacity was 217.
So when we did location reports last year and had you guys update all the location information, we redid a capacity analysis on that. And that's what drove the 245. I can show you those, well, we could bring them up if we need to, the documents, if you'd like.
Well, here's the deal. These are not final yet. We do have, those are based on what the updated information you provided us with the usage of your building. That data is being loaded, I think, today. But this,
it is in test now. We haven't officially, we got to go review a few things in the database for that, and then we can finalize it.
so the final location information will come. This is preliminary based on the information you provided last summer. And then the final location information is going to be uploaded probably this week sometime. And then that number will be refined. Right now, the best information we have based on the information you gave us last summer on location information is 83%. Now, if that number holds, and it may adjust a little bit, but if that holds, okay, then what you have right now in the budget are 2 modulars that are still in, and you'll have 1 more year on that.
Right.
If that number remains down, I would assume below 90%, because at 90% is when we start kind of flagging things, right? Or is it 100%? We're going to have to be consistent.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to decide which number. If it's less, if it's 90 or above, we can keep them on 90 or above. Keep them
So just one question in those numbers, Troy. I'm looking in the location report now in AIM. So is AIM not updated then, is what you're telling me?
No, that's
in
last,
AIM.
That's last year's
Well, the only thing I will say is it's kind of hard to prepare for these if when I go and look at location reports in AIM to get ready for these, and in AIM it says 220 restricted capacity, and this is the first I've heard that it's 245. Now I'm looking at unrestricted capacity of 256. So I guess my thing is not to be, I guess, bitchy, but I mean it's hard to prepare for these if I'm looking at information in AIM it's not correct. That's difficult.
Yep. And that's, again, that's why we went off. You're absolutely correct. That is previous information. In the future, and I've kind of thought about this just a little bit, in the future I think we're going to update these location information one year before the assessment.
Correct.
And so there'll always be a timing in which when you update these, but and a delay. And so far the last one's lasted 4 years. This one happens to be, and we were hoping to get this done in December, but unfortunately that's not what's happened. So take note of that. We agree with you that for both you and us, but based on the information that we do have, based on your latest information from last summer, we've applied the latest data, and then that will become official data hopefully this next week, and then we will update this. And then we'll update your capacity numbers, and we can have a further discussion on it. So we agree.
So Barry, this is Brandon. Get that together. We'll have to look at these two modulars and see what the need is when we put the budget together.
For the next year.
Yeah, for this.
Okay, can you guys email me a copy of what you use for the 245? That would be, just whenever you get a chance, just so I can take a look at that to see where the discrepancies are.
You bet. And that'll be,
that to you right now.
he's going to send it right now to you.
So we've got two modulars.
So let me go into I'm going to go into the bills and show you what we have this year. So we have multiple bills flowing through. Let's talk about this one first, which is the one that has the modulars in it. So this is House Bill 58. And all they did was take the biennial budget and modify the wording to fit within this. They changed, we're no longer just school facilities, we're state construction department, school facilities division. That's consistent through here. Right now it's sitting at about 85 million and it's still sitting there. One of your neighbors, Bighorn 2 Lovell, they've got a replacement of a food service building that has structural integrities. That's still in there at 3.2 million. The modulars we talked about, there is some land, some offsite infrastructure for purchased land in Laramie 1, and then a bunch of modulars for Laramie 1, and then we have you as 26,500 so that was for a single year, correct?
Yeah, what they did is they took and raised the delta between the 26,550 and the 16,800 is what it is to get you through another year.
Okay. And then back to, she's got to remind me, back to modular leases. I wanted Amber to read to you, based on state law and what we got going on, we want to confirm. My understanding then is you're on a year-to-year lease in your agreement with the modular company. So each year you need to know that something's coming, and then once that builds, I don't know when the date is. When is that, Barry, that you have to renew your agreement, or is it just a continuing agreement as we longer to make the agreement?
Brandon is working on that, so that we were ending in June, but they're going to get that straight, so it goes 1 July to 30 June, this next renewal.
Yeah, they're trying to, I already recall that conversation. They're the ones that billed you like 2 years early, right?
You had a 25-year lease.
Yes.
25-year lease on 2017.
So we're gonna work and try to get the lease in conjunction with the funding that comes in.
So the money coming right now, supplemental, is the lease has to be renewed in order for that money to be applied.
Yeah,
Because that,
I think they're already under contract for a ways out, and they've got it prepaid.
I think that it expires June 30th of 2017.
June.
But they do have some money in the queue already for that.
Okay, so enough for next year?
Yes.
Okay, so you have one more year, you have money for one more year, and this one would be asking in the biennial for 2 more
Yeah,
years.
because of how the section is. So
Okay.
we'll have to look at it when they're.
Were you going to say something?
Hey. Yeah, just one note that, based on what we were told when we got these, we didn't pay for the return up front. So when the lease is in, there would be additional costs for them to pick those things up to get them out of there, because that cost was not paid up front.
Okay. Let me write that down in case we do have to get rid of them. So we'd have to add money to demob? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. 'Cause when we did these, Stan did not want to pay that money up front because it would be a fixed cost to do it, but he did not want to do that, so we didn't do it.
Okay, so I'll work with you when we get close to putting the budget together. So first what I need to know is what the capacity is. Once we determine the actual capacity based on the location report being 100% accurate, then we'll know the need of the modulars.
So there are 2 possible scenarios. You don't fund it, but it sounds to me like but that doesn't include the,
Demobbing, cleaning up
Taking
the
it
site and all that, yeah.
okay. So you would allow them to continue on through the next year for that, and you would provide whatever it would take to get rid of them if capacity numbers would determine that. Or you would put in for another 2-year lease, 2 years of lease.
Depending on the capacity, yeah.
Okay.
So I put a note here, review capacity prior to putting those numbers together, add money for demob and site cleanup,
Okay. And
site reclamation.
and then June 15th is when the lease runs out. Yeah. It would either have to be renewed or non-renewed.
Hey, one other note there is those modulars were approved by the commission not only for capacity, but also because of our special education need. And when that elementary school was built in 2006, there was not enough special ed space put in that building to be able to deal with our emotionally disturbed and our autistic kids who have to be pulled out, to de-escalate. And we have quite a few of those down there. So I guess my question is, it's not just capacity. If you go back and read, I think we got these in 2012 commission meeting. I have to go back and look at my notes. But so does that take into any account because they were also for special ed?
So if you have located special ed out in the modulars, then it would not affect your in-building capacity. If you were to identify your in-building capacity as what you would normally do and designate specific spaces without the modulars, then that would more closely reflect, if you were to get rid of the modulars, that would obviously more closely affect what that true capacity would be. So you're actually have kind of a hiding of the true capacity of the building if you have moved your high needs students out, which drive a maximum 10 students and a 800 some.
Yeah,
But that's not totally true, Troy, because what you're talking about is a resource room or self-contained room where it generates capacity. The way I read the rules, if we're doing pullouts, which that's 99% of what we do, is because we believe that kids have got to go out at least for some classes. Okay. So we're pulling them out, pulling them back in, not for all day, but for specific times of the day. So the way I read the capacity rules, that means if it's used for that type of pullout, it does not generate capacity.
That is correct. And he's got 2 resource rooms right now.
3 marked.
So we actually, I think it's accurate what you're doing. We have 3 resource rooms that you've identified. One is at 754 square feet. It's room number 319.
Right.
Go up. Another one is 562 square feet, room 317.
Yep.
And the other one is room 306 at 649. So you actually have two two-thirds size classrooms and 1 full-size classroom dedicated to resource rooms. I think we're pretty accurate. I mean, unless something's changed, but that's the last summer heading into the fall. So I think we've got.
No, that's correct. So are those generating any capacity?
They are not. Not a single. They are not. Not a single.
Yep, that's correct then.
So when you look at that capacity, and we talk about that analysis in here, down here, let's see where it is. That is including these 3 resource rooms not generating capacity.
Correct.
So like I said, Barry, we'll go ahead and refine this as our new data come in. We're in the same place as you are. We're going off of the best known data, and this is the best known data we have, which is the information you provided last summer. So we're even though it's not, and you're frustrated about that, I apologize, and we would have loved to have that data earlier, but that just was not possible with regard to the time frame set up on us by the legislature. So there we are. But anyway, I think we're as absolutely as close as we could be until the final data is uploaded, and it should match this, and there should be no discrepancy.
Correct. It should. If not, we'll fix the discrepancies if there are any.
So, and one of the things we really want to do here in these meetings, and these meetings are going to take longer this year than in past. It's just the way it is. That we want to talk through all these things. So my understanding then is Brandon is going to work with you as we finalize these numbers. But the simple fact is that if your capacity numbers are retained or remain as they are, that the modulars will not remain and will not be refunded. Now, if it gets up to, but if it gets up to 90, 95, 100%, obviously you have a capacity issue, and we'll have to make a decision whether or not how long we hold on to them, when that cutoff mark is, in order to be consistent. And we will develop that so that
And I'm fine with that, Troy. I understand. I just think the restricted capacity is wrong. And when I get the stuff, we'll go through it. There's got to be an error someplace, because I know those rooms by heart almost, and I know there's no way it can be 245. Even when the building was first built, the original capacity was 237.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know that number cannot be right.
I will say one thing. According to the commission policy, we did have to change 2 of the special, like the resource rooms, to general classrooms. Now, how you utilize them, we understand that, but we did, according to that policy, have to change that to have some capacity on those. And I believe that is.
Hopefully we're not taking too much of your time up, Barry, but we want to make sure we're thorough in this. We can move on, but we want to make sure you have a full understanding of what we're talking about. So let me take just a few minutes to review what he was just talking about so that you fully understand it. I think
You were up
right there.
There you go.
So this is on our website, and it talks about utilization rates. Obviously, you guys are 100%, right, for elementary. So this applies to you. 100% of homeroom instruction applies to elementary school buildings, okay? Districts may propose non-capacity use of classrooms, such as special ed, right? Such as professional learning communities, special education resource rooms, etc. Sometimes non-capacity use creates a lower building capacity than what SFD believes is reasonable. In these instances, the SFD will analyze and propose use of spaces and may assign a general classroom categorization to some rooms with the understanding that the district may use the room for whatever non-capacity use, and that's what Charlie was talking about, it deems appropriate. In the instance of special education resource room, so we were seeing this across the state, and the argument you're making right now, we've had that concern by multiple districts across the state. So the department will apply the most recent state average for all districts within the state as reported by WDE, using 67 square feet per student for estimating purposes to calculate the maximum square foot that may be allocated for resource room use within any single building. So in other words, the number of special ed students you had when we updated this, okay, was multiplied by 67 square feet per child, and then that gave you a total square footage within your building that you could designate to resource rooms. Okay, if your square footage within your building exceeded, and this is based on, by the way, the report from WDE at that time, okay, for a state average, and I can't remember what that average was.
So the average just statewide was 13.9%, but we actually went per school. So we drove out the 30 special education students for your elementary school, roughly. And then we took that time to 67 square feet, which drove out 1,965 square feet.
Yeah. And so you were allotted and allowed then up to 1,900 square feet. Those three added, or what?
Those three rooms, which are resource rooms, which do not carry any capacity.
Right, and they added up to that 1,900 square feet.
Correct.
Good. Okay, and then you had two more, is my understanding. You had two more.
Yes.
And then they were, according to the commission-approved policy, were moved to, you can do what you want with them, but they actually are capacity driving classrooms based on the state average for your building.
I understand that we're trying to make stuff work in the cookie cutter type deal. I understand that's probably what you guys are trying to do, but at the elementary, I have 55 special ed students there. Now granted, out of that 55, 12 are speech only. So, you know, I understand we're trying to make this, but there's got to be some wiggle room there for, I mean, it's not like I'm looking at numbers right now as we talk. There's 55 special ed students at Grable Elementary. So how do we deal with reality versus cookie cutter the state?
Yeah, at that time we were going off the latest data, once again, when we did it in the summer.
Right.
And we applied the commission-approved policy, and then this policy was customized as in it's a percentage statewide, but it was applied specifically to your numbers at that time. So that was the latest data that we had. Today, it sounds to me like you have more, and the next time we update our location information, we'll apply this policy. Like anything, when you're talking about 500 plus schools in the state, we do not do this on a yearly basis. It is not possible with our manpower to do that. And so what right now, as we do the updating assessments of the buildings, we also update location information. So this is a snapshot in time. It was the latest data we had, and then that latest data is being loaded probably this week. So we recognize that things change, and with manpower we have and realism across the state with the buildings we have, this is right now the best we can do with the information we have.
Okay, one last thing before I kill this horse is we had about the same amount of special ed kids last year, but you guys are trying to use the statewide SPED average, not necessarily a district average. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and we presented multiple options to the commission, and this is the one that made the most sense to the commission. This is the one that was recommended, and this is the one that was accepted. And because we did explore individualizes, and that's the one thing. And Barry, you're a busy guy, I know, but we always welcome input as these methodologies are being developed. We send these packets out beforehand. We advertise it. We provide it, and then we always ask for public input as well. And And so everybody that provided public input during this time, we considered and took that into account in the recommendation.
Okay, last comment. Understand statewide average, but when you do that, some districts who have lower special ed space gets additional. Those of us who are sitting at 17, 18% special ed, you know, I still gotta take care of these kids. And so what you're gonna do, what you're gonna create is you create an instance where we take away the modulars. So I don't have space to pull out my ED kids or those autistic kids that need special services. We're going to be out of compliance. So just know that I'm gonna reply to the department via letter, and I will ask that it goes to the commission, and that's fine, because if you guys, this is what you're going to do, then I'm going to pass the buck to the department and to the commission that you guys, way you're doing this is not in compliance with federal law, because you're going to force me then to not be able to have pull-out spaces for those kids who are required to get a faith education, just like their non-disabled counterparts. And I guess some of this is on me, and not an excuse, but you got to remember, small districts, this is a one-man show. Not only do I get stuff from SFD, but I have all the other stuff coming in as well, and I can't believe that no other districts has brought this as an issue.
Yeah, I understand, because you are busy, and I respect that. Yeah, we solicit responses, put it in public to everybody. And so these are the kind of things we love to hear, we want the best policies possible. And so with the input that was provided on this over several presentations, this was the best information we could come up with and apply it. So according to what we had heard from districts, those that were able to follow, track, and respond and give any input. Okay, good discussion. Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about this, where we had our main discussion on this that led to this policy was in Lander, and it was actually a school facility commission work session and I spent probably an hour on this with them. So Barry, I get it. We're all limited, but I just want you to know that we did open it up to the public, ask for any comments, and tried to work in a collaborative sense to come up with the best one that would meet the needs of the state as a whole. And we also understand that any system such as this is going to it's not individualized to, it is individualized to every district in some aspects, and is more of a state average in the other one, and takes in the whole picture of the state. So there's a combination of balance in this. Okay, thank you. Look forward to whatever communication you want to provide. All right, and then Amber was now the third time. She was going to read some notes here with regard to your leases and state statute. We just wanted to point out, I think, one concern we may have with regard to your present lease.
Okay. Just to start off, what I captured just briefly was that you are currently in a 25-month lease, expires on 6/15/2017. The lease also leaves responsibility of maintenance to the leasee, and within state statute, just to make you guys apprised of that, the district needs to be apprised of the state statutes to follow below that they abide by when entering a lease. On just terms alone, just make sure that you're thinking about the district needs to limit the lease agreement for the use of closed or surplus buildings not more than 1 year, subject to termination by the district at any time prior to the expiration of 1 year period, if necessary, to provide the district educational program. So then moving on out of terms, we also have a talking about major maintenance responsibilities, and that's statute 2115-109, and it is section E. The district shall include plans for maintaining any district buildings or facilities which is under the lease agreement, specifically leases, revenues available to the district for maintenance of facilities to the level required by the state adequacy standards. No expenditures shall be made for separate accounts unless the repairs or replacement of the building or the facility systems for these, or for which the expenditure is to be made, is clearly specified within the district's facility plan or otherwise approved by the department in a manner of the requirements by commission, rule, and regulations. Each district shall annually report to the department on expenditures made from the separate account during the application reporting period. Okay? I believe that covers everything.
So there's a portion in there that basically says, Barry, that when you're leasing from another person, the lessor is responsible for the maintenance of the actual building, and unless there's, qualified education programs in there, correct?
Mhm.
Now, these are qualified educational programs.
Correct.
So it sounds to me like that they can't spend major maintenance on these because qualified educational programs are within that.
Yes.
Is that correct? Or no? No. That's, only if they own the building, correct? So if they're leasing from another building and it's a qualified educational program, that doesn't matter because the owner of that building is someone else, and the lessor must pay for the maintenance of that building, not the lessee.
How does that apply to modulars?
So that applies to modulars. If the building is not owned, okay, they're leasing a modular, that's a temporary building, the lessor is responsible for the maintenance of that.
Supposed to be responsible now.
Well, then we're going to have to go through and modify all of our modular lease agreements because I guarantee you that those lease costs are going to skyrocket if they think they have to take care of, because that's not the way it's been in the past.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's one thing that we're going to have to start exploring, and that is we're going to have to start getting into these modular leases and making sure they abide by state statute.
I have a meeting with Leo next week to
Because-
review the contract.
Because not only, so the
I
lease,
think you'd be better off, quite honestly, either purchasing the modulars or amending the language to say that a modular is not a building.
yeah, that would be
Because
great.
it's just a temporary, otherwise you're going to open up a Pandora's box here, and quite honestly, I'd be surprised if there were any companies that would be willing to lease us modulars knowing that they had to take care of them. I mean, most of these companies are out of Denver.
So come back in and purchase them, it sounds like.
I think that's what we're going to have to do.
Yeah, one thing we don't have freedom, and that is within the state statute. Even though the state statute may or may not make sense to us, we're still obligated to abide by it. And then there's financial implications of that.
Well, and the problem is, though, is that there's still gray area and things aren't very clear in regards to leasing a building may not be the same as leasing a modular. The definition isn't quite clear. It's like me asking you, what color do you want your car painted? And you say, well, I want it painted red. Well, there's 50 different shades of red, so what's the right answer? You want a crimson? You want a candy apple?
Are you spending any money? Have you spent any major maintenance on those modulars?
We have not. When we put them in, we did a couple modifications with wiring and did some carpet, but that came out of that initial purpose, that emergency appropriation. That was all part of that initial setup, and we opted not to do the metal portable decks. We had a deck built wood deck built because we thought we were going to probably be in them longer, and all that came out of that initial appropriation. So we have not spent any major maintenance money. We probably spent some general fund maintenance money just on, obviously light bulbs and those types of general maintenance stuff, but no major maintenance. We've had them for 4 years, I think.
Well, I would assume too that any district's going to spend money on its permanent buildings as number one priority and wouldn't even think about spending money on modulars unless it was the last resort. So maybe this is for naught, this good discussion. It matters how long you have the modulars, right?
Well, and whether or not you have enough money to pay the damage fee at the end when you return them in capital funding.
Which needs to be, if we close out, we're going to have to discuss all those details. Okay, good. All right, well, we've got that captured then. Welcome to state statute. Appropriations, capital appropriations. I probably should walk down through this document one more time. Let's see here. Oh, it was right there. Okay. Is that why it's out? Okay, I got you. Okay, so in the budget then, your two modulars are still in there. We'll reanalyze that as we finalize these numbers. We've noted and we'll receive a letter from you, and that's fine with regard to your concern about the policy that worked through. The Teton one, they've got a new elementary school in there, and then the junior high at Laramie one here in Cheyenne is still in. That makes up the majority of the $80 million. Then down below there is a portion that talks about a study, and you probably are, or maybe you may not be aware of this, but there's an actual study that's moving through right now on major maintenance with regard to major maintenance and expenditures, and how basically I think in addition to allowable expenditures amounts appropriated, major maintenance expenditures under this section, a school district may expend up to 10%. You know that. I'm trying to find that one portion here. But Brandon, if you'll spend just a few minutes with us with regard to the FEA study on major maintenance, why don't you share where that's heading and what the reason is for it?
Yeah, so Barry, the legislature's got this in the bottom of this bill. They want to report that the commission has to approve in April, and then in June it'll go to the select committee, and then they're going to look at drafting legislation. It's outlined here in section 2. There we go. So what we've done is in the past, it was probably in the June meeting, FEA presented to the select committee how the major maintenance is being spent, if they're being adequately funded, and if the formula was appropriate to maintain the schools. At a high level, the determination is that the formula is not appropriate, there's not enough major maintenance, so they have directed us in this bill here to continue the study and determine what type of funding is needed, what statutes need adjusted, and then what tools need to be implemented and in place so that we can track and report back to the legislature the use of those funds. So we started down the path of doing that report, and we have an advisory group which is composed of several school districts. We have Vern McAdams, we have Amy Anschutz, we have Dan Celaroli, Todd Wilder, one of our commissioners, Matt's on there, as well as Dennis Ocker from Laramie 1. And we've been meeting about every 2 weeks to provide input on the process and procedures that the school districts are doing so that they have a voice in this report. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, I definitely would like to get you in touch with one of those guys so we can get as much feedback to this consultant as possible. We'll be done on April 10th with the report.
So for your region, Todd Wilder
would be the guy.
Would be the guy. So you may want to contact him, just have a short discussion on that study that's going through, and make sure he keeps you updated. I'm hoping that these guys will keep their portion of the state updated with regard to the findings and recommendations coming out of that study. Okay, I think that's it on that.
So I guess one question on the I guess one above that on the appropriations that were in the bill. I mean, we get beat up that, hey, you guys need to read the policy, you need to do this. Understand. How come when the department puts in and we do all these deals with prioritizing capital projects, the department prioritizes projects throughout the state, and then it gets to the select committee, and I know they have the purse strings, they can do what they want, but still don't make it right. Then they cherry pick a couple projects, and amazing, it's Jackson Hole and Cheyenne, and then they also reach down at the bottom of the priority list and say, oh, we're going to demo this building as well, and we've got way higher priorities above that. How is the department fighting for us with the select committee to try to figure out why they're not taking the department's recommendation on priorities for buildings throughout the state?
Well, Barry, I don't know if we'd say fight for districts. Our obligation is present the facts, and I hear exactly what you're saying. Every year we, just started right now. I just wrote down 2 modular leases, so we'll come and present that information. And when it gets to those guys at that level, they have the authority to do what they want, and we advise them, we recommend, but at the end of the day, they make the decision, the legislature.
I understand that, but it is kind of hard. They want to beat us over the head with rules, but then they want to cherry pick things that maybe those areas have more influence on those committees than maybe we do. And I think you guys are smart enough to understand that and see that, and that's very frustrating for the districts unless you're sitting in Cheyenne or Jackson Hole. And just, I don't expect a comment. I just like that in my plan, because I just think, if we're gonna follow the rules, great. Then I doubt any person on that select committee is smarter than anybody at the department. Sometimes you just kind of wonder what their thought process is, why they go down and cherry pick. And this is not the first year they've done that. They did that last year as well.
Yeah, our response is simple, and our response. I mean, we've got a policy that tells us how to prioritize condition and capacity remedies. Those are the recommendations we push forward, and then we let the legislative process carry it forward to the ultimate conclusion and a governor's signature in March. Okay. So these are the ones. One thing we've added this year is just putting in this updated report with regard to what's going on. So Brandon wants to just kind of review this real quick, and we see that basically what we're looking for is, John, are there any projects that are complete, done, and if there's any remaining funds within those projects, can those be returned? Those monies returned. So from there, Brandon, I'll let you take the lead here, and John, and let you guys discuss that.
So Barry, there's a law that we have to continuously clean up our accounts, revert the money and stuff. So the modulars, we don't want to close any of that out. Those have to stay going. The middle school, what's a new construction renovation? Is that one complete?
That one's complete. I think the money that was remaining was a prior year authorization for the planning piece of this when we went through MOA to get the capacity study done. They put some planning money out there. We were trying to use that money, but because it was in a previous appropriation year, we could not. That's why I think there's probably, $30,000 sitting out there that can be recaptured by you guys, at least as far as I know.
Most of it was design money, I think, and planning money, Barry, that just wasn't, we weren't able to use that for construction purposes. Just so that you guys know, the district supplemented a lot of that construction with the renovation portion of the gym with major maintenance funding. So when we hit the limit on construction, that's where we had to stop.
So project 1009
can be closed
could be closed.
Right.
Well, quite honestly, all but the modulars can be closed out. Wouldn't break your heart to lose the 20 cents left on the Quake building, would it, Barry?
109, 110, 1185, 12.
No, it wouldn't. I should say yes but I'm going to say no.
Okay.
So I think it's, all of them, but the modulars can be close.
All right. We will clean those accounts up and tighten up our books.
85, 1202, 2710, funds will be returned. Right, you just call it returns.
Yeah, we have to return it to, it goes to the school foundation land account, and then from there it goes off to something else. Thanks, Barry.
Okay, so we've got that down. I'll de-escalate this just a little bit. So it looks like you guys have spent almost 100%. This, I don't know exactly when we pulled this, pretty recently. So your security projects, it looks like just barely a little bit left in there. Are you guys pretty well done and complete? Or are you,
yeah, we're complete with those. We did a couple others with 10% money, but those are done. There was just a little bit left that was estimate was just a little bit high for what actual cost was.
That's kind of interesting. That doesn't pop up here for security, does it? So that's got to be tied. Brandon, is that tied to a very specific?
Those others aren't. Well, I don't know how that's working. Quite
Say that
honestly.
again?
I'm curious how we're doing that. There's just a little bit, right? There's basically $1,000 left in this.
Right.
They're done. I assume that goes back and
It goes into the contingency that's for the
security projects as a whole.
projects, yeah.
Okay, got it.
So that money's done? You're done with all security projects?
So basically, security is done, and
So-
Tanner, whatever else has been dowed needs to be returned back to the contingency.
Is that like 1,060 or something?
Something close.
Have all the bills came through, Barry?
I will verify that. Joe just said there may be the one hasn't been paid, but I think it's been updated since then. Usually I go and do a project manager report for Tanner and do Capcom security, and those all show up. But I'll verify that and get it to you.
Roger that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so now we get to capacity. So we already talked about your numbers here. We've got some enrollment projections. Enrollment projection. Okay, so looking at your enrollments, I'm sure you already looked in there, but take another look. So obviously each year we get numbers from WDE, bring them in. Of course, you got your 3 school numbers and their brick and mortar numbers. They don't have anything to do with distance learning. With that, then you can see, and I'll just go to our next page, which pretty well summarizes it a little better. We've got clear back on this to 1997. As you well know, we look 10 years back trailing data and then project out what that would look like if the trends were continuing as they are. So you guys, basically, when you look at over the last 10 years, your average is 504 students. In the last 4 years, you guys were up farther. Your average was 520. You've dropped basically about 20 students last year. When we look at this also, it's really important. You can see your kindergarten this year, and it's these individual numbers. This is kindergarten, first, second each year, and you can see where your kindergarten numbers, it's kind of, and I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but it's called the survival rate. So for instance, your 2013 kindergarten class, lost 10 students to first grade, kept them, and was pretty consistent, grew just a little bit as they moved towards seniors. So this is really a fascinating trend. Maybe you have some data for us or information, but it looks like you guys are dropping some serious kindergarten students from kindergarten to first on a regular basis. What's up there? What's up there?
The issue is we run 3 kindergarten sections, but one of those sections, they still meet the statute requirement of coming to school by being 5 by September 15th of the year. But we have one kindergarten group that's designated DK, developmental kindergarten, and usually that's a group of 7 to 10 students who are either developmental delayed or special ed. So those kids, a lot of times, they can move from that DK to first grade, but most of them end up going to a regular kindergarten class the second year. So they're in the system. They're listed as a retain. So that's why you'll see that little bit of difference in the kindergarten to first grade every year, because we run a DK program.
So
those disadvantaged, because we have a lot of special ed kids.
They need some more help. They'll come back and do a regular kindergarten year, and then they're developmentally ready to move on to the system. Okay. That makes total sense then. So in reality, at yours, your first grade numbers are really more accurate for your kindergarten numbers with regard to those students that actually retain and continue on through the system.
Yes, that's correct.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that sounds good. But these numbers are really important, obviously, because even though it looks like you lost 20 students, in reality, if you look at first grade, it is kind of interesting. You can see where your averages used to be in the 40s right here. I don't know, that's probably your sophomore or freshman year, sophomore. No, that's 8th grade. You can see you had a dip here, but as you look through, your student numbers here have been pretty well in the 40s, and then in the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years, we know that this is kind of a developmental time. Your last 4 years, you've been down in the lower 30s. So that's kind of the trend that you're consistently doing. Now, obviously, we would love to see every superintendent would almost rather see this reversed, where your lower classes that are working down or up through the grades, you might call it, are larger, and then they're going to infill. But in reality, your trend is basically saying that your around 30 average is going to continue to move down through your 12th grade, and at this rate, your actual student numbers will continue to decrease unless you have some kind of demographic change with regard to your incoming students. So obviously, and the blessing of these enrollment projections is, again, they take 10 years of data, not just this year. So you can kind of see that again, even though your student numbers are in the around 30 instead of the around 40, we take 10 years of trailing data. It's a broader perspective. It's not reactionary as much as is historical. These projections are just that, projections, right? They're mathematical computations that show a survival rate, and the reason you have a 79% survival rate, you just explained it, it makes total sense. You basically have some developmental preschool that's really taking place at the kindergarten level. And then from that point on, though, your survival rates do really well. I mean, you actually gain students as you go through the school years each year, or as the students progress through 12th grade. Of course, you have your sophomore, junior years where you lose a few students, and then for some reason, historically, you're kind of gaining some. These are actual percentages, 102, 104%. So survival rates is what we call them. Okay, any questions on that? So right now, as we look at this, we will, again, confirm the data coming in on location reports, and get that. We will make an analysis and determination. We'll communicate with you on those submodulars. If it's less than 90%, it's very doubtful that you're going to retain those, but that will be a decision that will be looked at statewide. But most likely you'll end up losing those modulars, and you'll be brought back into the school as a whole without modulars. Okay, so that's the trends. Bring that down. Statewide list, we do have a statewide list that's developed. You've seen it in the past. I guess we can show them that real quick.
It'll be in 2017. And that, the second one.
That one?
Yeah.
So this is preliminary. Again, poor Charlie, he's working on, like you said, he's working on last summer's data. It's not official in our database. I can't imagine hardly any changes. But right now, as you look down through here, our policy says we have low priority ones, which are basically between 90 and 95. These are those school districts. Medium, which is from 95 basically to 100. Here's those. And then our highest ranking ones, which are above 100%. Right now, as a preliminary numbers, these are the actual numbers that are driving capacity concerns. You had a concern about Jackson. Jackson literally is, as of today, the best analysis we have 121% overall. You can see that they have an enrollment of almost 1,400 students, and they have about 1,160 seats. So that's basically reality there. Fremont 1, we've got a concern for them, and we're working actually in a planning study in the middle of one. Moorcroft, we've got 104 there. We'll be talking about that one a little bit. And they actually have non-construction alternatives because their junior high or their high school is like at
Half full.
it's like half full, 50%. So they can actually do a great configuration change and take care of this. And we've talked to them about it. And then Cheyenne, the other one you'd mentioned, right now they're just a little above 102%. So they're lacking 170 seats out of, 11, 12, 13,000 students. They're lacking 170 seats. Up here at Jackson, out of, again, 1,300, they're down almost 250 students seats. So anyway, that's how we do that. We'll refine that and bring it forward. These are the ones that we start doing studies on, or maybe some potential, I don't know, I'd say modulars are probably, depending on their growth, modulars somewhere in this process are probably coming in somewhere in here, most likely in the medium priority category as they move up. Here's more of a planning study. If they continue to grow, what should we do? Here's probably, we probably ought to start thinking about how to address it temporarily if need to be. And then these are the ones that are over 100% that traditionally, when we had a lot of money, are able to provide for long-term solutions for capacity concerns. Any questions on that?
No.
And then we talked about your district analysis, which we will confirm once we get those final numbers. Okay, so coming down through, we know that you've provided some information here. And basically what we're saying is we'll finalize, once the location data comes in, we'll finalize those numbers and communicate back with the district, and then we'll make a determination of whether or not modulars will be funded beyond this next year. They're getting money here, and maybe even so, those are specifically leases, so they could not, if those flow through, the two modular leases, the appropriations, they could not be used, or they could not be used to get rid of the modulars, only leases, or is there some flexibility
If the money comes?
Yeah.
I'll have to check on it.
Okay, so that might, obviously when
What I'm thinking is if the need isn't there to maintain the modulars, but we got some money, we get the authority to use that money to demo and clean up.
Okay.
If the need's there, then we just use the money.
Let's continue on. Yeah. Okay, good.
And then if it's demo, then do we need extra money to make sure we return the site back to its original condition?
Okay. All right. Just jump in anytime. Demolition. Let's not go there. Condition. So we had several presentations to both the select committee and the commission on basically asset preservation. There's life cycle to every building. This is a building and its life cycle. I mean, if you can imagine, you got a farm truck, you buy it brand new, and let's say you can get 100,000 out of that farm truck. This is kind of illustrative to that. You know, you buy it brand new. There's no deferred maintenance really on it. Everything's running well. As you get through and you move toward that 100,000 mark, and you're probably going to replace the 100,000. You know, you could actually think that this is as miles almost. You know, at the beginning you got a couple thousand on it, brand new. You know, you get down through here. You know, when the state was running just gung-ho and flowing with all kinds of capital revenue with regard to doing things in districts. You know, here we're looking at about a farm truck at about 35,000 miles, and the district was all excited about replacing those 35,000 mile buildings, and that's because they had plenty of money. It was the opportunity, and they wanted to do that, and that was their choice. Right now, our data, you know, we're at about 65,000 on that building, you know, miles. We're kind of looking at saying, hey, you know, our deferred maintenance is getting more up there. We're kind of, you know we've got another 40,000 on the building for its lifespan. How can we take care of it? Maybe there are some more major things we need to do to that vehicle, that building, in order to keep it for the next 40,000 miles, and maybe we can prolong it to get more mileage out of it. That's what we're looking at in buildings. It's the same concept as taking care of your vehicle. So that's basically it. Anything? So you've kind of described you've got the SchoolView software program here. Anything else you want to say on preventive maintenance before we move on?
I'll just make another note that we say that preservation of assets is our priority, but then we don't give the department any emergency money, or the commission any emergency money to then approve emergency. So it's kind of counterproductive. I know that's not in you guys' control. Just a comment.
And coming up, don't we have, like, right now, isn't there still some emergency money in the budget?
There is some money in the budget coming forward.
But that's really tied to specific projects? Or?
No, what happened. So Barry, you know how I had that list of projects and I wanted to see if we can close it out? The reason is because they wrote a law saying you got to continuously revert these monies and close this stuff out and send it back. Which is fine because you have good books and stuff. But the con is it put us in a cash flow problem, and we didn't have any. What we used to be able to do is if there was a little bit of money, we'd hold that on our unobligated line item on our books. And then when districts come forward and they have stuff like the Quig building, you could go and use that. Well, they took that ability away, so now we don't have any money. So this session, it's about 1.6, 1.8 million. We pointed that out to them, and it's in the bill to actually appropriate that amount of money for emergency projects. So going forward, hopefully we can have some money to address those things.
That kind of reminds me on our component projects. Let's see, we had our list, right? General session.
Yes. It is going to be under, okay. Good. Let's try that. Yes, there you go.
Okay, so last year, let me see if I can find yours. Yeah, last year you had submitted, repoint that mortar. We had it as number 3. That's what the committee decided. I think you, if I recall right, you were part of that, weren't you, Barry? And
Yes, it was.
okay. So one of the frustrations, I think, for you guys and us is we go through all this heartache. We let the committee do its thing. The committee's not perfect. The system's not perfect. We've actually modified that and got approved through the commission in December, I believe. So we have a consistent methodology tied to rules and regs, and we're not going to change it each year. But at any rate, through that process, you guys were number 3. So we were hoping as a department that we were really hoping for, quite a few $1 million to address this. That is not what happened. We don't have, as a department or a division, we don't have control of that. But we're heading for an asset preservation program. We know that we have to because the state monies are drying up or are dried up, and who knows what's going to happen in the long run here. But please do not give up on this. Charlie is finishing step-by-step instructions for the component projects. We're going to have a webinar here probably within the next 3 to 4 weeks, get you guys going on it. And then we're going to follow the same process through. And in the latest one, and I won't belabor this point, but we've already talked to the commission and got this approved and communicated this. But in the latest version, one of the things, and this was our director's thoughts, and I thought it was real good, is that if you've had one on the list previously, so we want to go to, you actually get a certain amount of credit for having it on the list previously. Let's see, where's that going to be? It's going to be your, it can't be any of these, right? That component request 2017. Right there, okay. So in this is the newest version and the one that's been approved by the commission. If it'll cooperate with me here. And so I just wanted to show you this, where down here are criteria. There's a fixed criteria. This is going to be pushed out the door. You guys will have to fill one of these out again for each one of your projects and cost estimates and stuff like that. Sorry, I went too far. And then the building FCI has a score, has a contributing factor on the score, so that takes into effect. The PMs look at your scoping documents, your budget sheets. They're basically going to say, is the scope detailed, not detailed? When you hit one of these, it automatically puts a score in. The main system score, so what we've done this year, Barry, is we've got a main system that you're working on. If you're working on bricks and stuff, that's fine. Is there a secondary system that is directly affected by that main system? You're going to be able to put those down. And the correlation, that correlation between a primary system, what we found out was that districts were trying to take multiple systems in a building that had no correlation whatsoever and trying to put them in a larger minor, we'd almost call it a minor capital project. And so we want a direct correlation between your main system and if there's a secondary system, what that correlation is. Those are scored. I'm probably going into more detail than you care, but at least I'll share it with you. Major maintenance percentage. So if you guys make X amount of money with regard to you're asking for X amount of work to be done on a component, and it's 200% of your major maintenance annual payment, then it produces a higher score. If it's a lesser percentage, like it's only less than 25%, it would produce no value. Previous component ranking, this is what I was talking about. So you've already been on the list. So if you were 1 through 10, you get an extra 50 points for that because you've gone through the heartache and it's been on the list. So that's the one we've added. We've got some other things we're doing here, but anyway, we'll put out a webinar for you. And this is the updated sheet. It's approved by the commission. It's solid. It's been ran through the ringer with districts, and anybody who wanted to respond was blessed with that opportunity. So any questions on the component? Because we assume that you're going to ask for that again.
No questions, and you can bet I'm going to ask for that again.
Okay. Well, congratulations for a 50 extra points on your score sheet already. All right. These are your buildings as a whole. We talked about the fact that you could again just say your building has a 100,000 mile expectation, and your Graybull High School is at 29,000 miles. And that's the easiest way I can explain it. So these FCI scores can be confusing, but the higher the FCI score toward, a 1.0, 1.0 would be the life expectancy, and you guys are looking. These are your scores. These were the previous scores. You can see that previous scores 4 years ago, that your buildings actually you're losing ground. Shame on you. But just having fun with you. But you guys your buildings are aging. The other ones are aging.
Give me more money and we'll do that.
We're seeking that. We hope we can succeed. And then your administration building, of course, has an FCI score change as well. So your buildings are actually, your transportation actually, because you put a lot of money into it, actually improved. You brought that back down to a 0.06 instead of a 0.17. So we know you're trying, you're working hard. You told us up there that you're prioritizing these things. You're looking at your ones and twos, which we'll talk next on. And so we appreciate all the hard work you're doing, and we respect the fact that you continue to ask for component projects, and we're going to continue to put those forward and see what happens with them. So like I told you guys, Bear, I hope this is helpful to you. I know it's taken more time this year. We haven't spent nearly this much time in the past, but times have changed. And I just think it's so important that you are able to have complaints, to list those complaints or concerns, to see the big picture, and for us to be able to share that with you. So thanks for hanging in there. So we are missing.
You're missing the chart, and I had to replace it when I did the last one, and it's missing again.
Okay, so let me go to this, because we do not have, just go to this real quick. Oh,
When we did our final.
no. Oh. Hey, before we go on, I'm sure
I was
you're
just going to tell you that
I'm sure you're aware. Go ahead.
I'm just going to tell you real quick, Troy, that I was trying to prioritize the major maintenance that's in there, but it's that sheet is protected. It will not let me change the order. So, but I know them well enough. If you guys got questions about that, I can answer those.
You bet. And we'll explain that sheet just a little more. I didn't talk about a couple more bills. You probably know that House Bill 027 is about insurance, property insurance on buildings. Have you been tracking that?
I have. Now, I think we're good. We've always insured all of our buildings for replacement value, and we use SRP, which I think a lot of the districts are using SRP now as well.
Perfect. Going back, are you tracking 108 and 138? Have you heard of these bills? They're the 16-to-1. The 16-to-1.
Yes, I've been, me and Sean and Dave and Rick, we've shared a Google document with Representative Flitner and Senator Peterson. Most of us don't agree on any change to the class size. Basically, what I told them is if they do have to approve one, it seemed that Representative Northrop's bill was the one that was reasonable, was changed 18-to-1 K-5 and phased in over a few-year period, the 24-to-1 at secondary.
Gotcha.
I guess what you're looking at now.
Yep. Yeah, this one would kill. We were just talking about this in Laramie 1 last night at a meeting. This one would cost Laramie 1 $20 million. $20 million. Just this one bill, which cost them $20 million in their block grant.
Decreased in revenue.
Decrease. $20 million. Yeah. And then the one, and I'm sure your board member would I don't know how informed they are of these potential changes, but this is the other one you were just talking about, where it's 16-to-1, basically a ratio would be funded at 18-to-1, and then what they would do then, and I think that was K through, if I recall right, K through 5, is that right? Yeah, so they're proposing go 16 to 18-to-1, K through 5, and then for 6 through 12 grades, right now you guys are funded at 21, the ratio is 21 to 1 teacher, 21 students to 1 teacher, and what they're looking at is they would increase that 21 to 22 in the first biennial, the next biennial 23, and then they would cap it at 24. So they'd give you guys a little bit longer to adjust to the shock of reality for the block grant. This is obviously more reasonable and probably not acceptable to you whatsoever, but the other one is just, I mean, it's an automatic here comes the hammer, and it would have a huge effect on you immediately. All righty. Well, we wanted to share those with you. I need to get the updated version, don't I? Right here. This is
It's
it.
not on there. It blacked it out. I didn't catch it.
Okay. All right. We're just going to have to roll with what we have. We have an updated version of this that she had put in a chart. But at any rate, you do have priorities across the state. And I think it's important to talk about the fact that what you have been spending your money on. Where's that, guys? IQ major maintenance report. Have you been in this one, Barry? The IQ major maintenance report?
It's under the dashboard.
Not lately.
Okay. Our latest one we have on you is the fiscal year 2016. I believe this is one where we can do that.
And then you go to the actions on the left-hand side, drop down to stacked.
Right there. And then we could export this. This is a very small version of this, and I'm not going to export it. But your miscellaneous interior specials, a year ago you spent about $450,000. I would take it that it's directly linked to the middle school project and basically doing things, optimizing your opportunities while the general contractor was on site.
Supplementing the cost because cost.
Yeah, two things. We supplemented that project, and we had a big expense when we had to tear out the floor in those computer labs. And the second thing is we also remodeled the old middle school during the same time to be central office. So that's why that's probably that bar for miscellaneous interior specialties is a little high. Because we did in the old middle school, which is now the central office building, we did carpet, tile, and some furniture replacements. So that's probably why that one's a little high for that year.
Sure. I like the words optimizing opportunities rather than supplementing costs. John's he's smiling at me. No, well, we understand that you were trying to get as much as you could with regard to where you were and using that money wisely, and we appreciate that. But anyway, that was last year. You could go on this if your board ever wants to know. You could go on in any previous year up to a certain point and see exactly what your priorities were and show them in a graphical sense what those priorities were. So I'm sure you're aware of that report, but there it is. So back to your facility plan then, there's another report in that, and it basically just breaks out those numbers that we were just looking at. It actually shows the exact things that you were just talking about, where you spent the money, what building, how much you did. Here's the elementary, you did some furnishing, some communication security. Here's the high school flooring and so on. So we just have that history. So appreciate all your hard work that you're doing, taking care of your buildings, and we recognize that, again, looking at your scores, you're losing ground. And so it's an opportunity for us to do our jobs and let the legislature know where we are in asset preservation and put the needs forward, and then you guys prioritizing accordingly, and we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. And let's just go to that. We've got 1s and 2 scores, low condition, we just call them low condition scores. And these are your low condition scores, and so for your, and everybody probably understands that, the higher the number, the better the system. Each of your buildings were scored on each system, exterior walls, windows, etc. You know this, Barry, but what we do ask you to do is respond to each and every, specifically your poor condition scores, which are 2, and 1s, which are failures. So, and then you could have responded on any of the 3s as well. And so we appreciate that. So looking at this, bus barn, your stair finishes, if you just double click on this, it just says painted finishes were grimy and I can't read it, I got something in front of there, and shop stained. So it's the actual finishes on that one, and your response to that is it's been cleaned. We appreciate that. Your next two down here is ceiling finishes, and it looks like the note basically says original acoustic tile system was aged and 10% discolored. Age does not preclude a score of 2. So it looks to me like the condition itself wasn't horrible, but the age combined with the condition scored that too. Talk to us about that.
No, we agree with the score. The only thing I'm going to say is suspended ceiling tiles, even though it's a 2 in our administrative building, even though it's a 2 on there, just know that that's going to be a low priority for us because they're still functional. They could look better, but we're about, my priority is to make sure we get the instructional spaces fixed first. Even though they may be a 3, we're going to work on those first, just so you understand that for this specific 2.
Charlie's going to open that and just add a comment there. Is it okay if we just infill that and just say educational 2s are being prioritized first?
Sure.
Okay. We'll complete that. What we don't want is if this has to go to the legislator or anything else, we want to make absolutely sure we have comments on those and responses. So we respect that. We get it. You're prioritizing. So those are the ceiling finishes in the administration building. You have talked about some other 3s where, caulked is required, planned project for summer. You're talking about your floor finishes in the elementary school. You're looking at some replacement work. You're looking at some fixed furnishings, so probably cabinetry on this one. So that looks good. You're going to do some more caulking as required. That's fine. Replace bad tiles. So this looks like some ceiling finishings, probably the same kind. And you're saying then that it's been completed and taken care of, so we appreciate that. Trying to go a little quicker. I know this is lasting. Fixed furnishings over in the high school, over time, low priority. Okay. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure. This is your facility plan. It's a low priority. I get that. It looks like cabinetry exhibited heavy wear, discoloration, sagging countertops, and out of plumb doors. So you're basically saying that's a low priority?
Right, because some of those areas are not in the teaching. Some of them are in teaching areas, but some of those are in where there's a teacher workroom. And what happens a lot of times is some of those cabinets, they store paper, which probably they shouldn't, and that causes some of those press board cabinets to sag a little bit. So we'll fix those doors. We'll do that part of it, but we think we can get a little bit more time out of some of those fixed furniture cabinets. And I could have replied to this on the FCI's deal, but we have to have some flexibility at the district level to try to prioritize some things. And you can look. We don't hardly have any 2s, so hopefully you guys trust us enough to understand that we're going to fix any critical 2 or any critical 3 to keep up with our systems.
So on this one, is it okay, and you don't have to do this, I'm just making some recommendations. We could just say taking care of, lower priority, doing routine maintenance to keep them in operation or something like that. But to right now, what you're saying is you're dealing with, and it's a routine, right now it's a routine maintenance project. That's how you're dealing with it. That's how you're dealing with it.
Right, because I can't see spending $300,000 to replace them when I can get, if we do a little bit of tweaks to them, and look what we store, we can get a little more useful life out of them.
Perfect. Down here, you've got a number 2, exterior walls on the Quig building. That's your number 1 priority. You got a work order in. We appreciate that. We might want to add to that. This is a component request in parentheses. See right here.
Number 1 priority.
Yep. So perfect. Thank you. Exterior windows completed with emergency, completed. Great, completed. Okay, hold on. So you said work in progress, completed. Oh, okay, but drop ceiling tile replacement, got it. And then this is completed all but restroom fixtures. So you're working on them. Appreciate that. I think the same way there. Restroom fixtures, okay. All right, so you can see where, just a general observation, you've got quite a few 3s that are moving towards your 2. We see that some of those are being addressed as needed. You're prioritizing your 2s. Anything else you wanted to say in general on this? And I probably should look at your notes, but anything else you'd like to mention?
No, I think we're moving good on that.
Okay.
Hey, go to that closed out one. What's that?
Which one's that? This one.
Need to be canceled.
You did close these out, correct? Already? Or are they still open? They're still open.
I don't think I could. I think some of those they're not available for me to close out. That's why I put that note on there. They won't let me close them because I think they're either component or the one is capital. 056938 and 097557, I believe, are capital. I think all that money has been reallocated, but I think those are still open.
Okay, Charlie's gonna. Let's go to those real quick. It's not going to be planned. Well, it is. Okay. SFC review. This one's having
Remodel.
Is there notes?
Yeah. That was a component project that was allocated, but we didn't get the component project. We got some emergency funding, and that's how we completed a lot of those, other than the
That's not showing.
bathroom fixtures.
and because it's a component capital project.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay,
So
so
you got the money already through component?
Not this one.
We got partial money, but we got it through emergency funding, not component.
Okay.
we're going to cancel that one. And our notes, just say
Funded through emergency.
So I saw Quave. I thought we were talking about that.
that's general. I think that's just general. That's no problem. Funded through emergency, right?
Yeah. Is that right, Barry?
Yes, that's fine.
Funds. Okay, so I think we can do that one. All right, so we've closed that one out. Okay, where are we at? What's wrong?
You got your in the general.
I don't know. No type.
That's where I'm goofing up at. Go.
Administrative.
Project manager, all project manager.
There you go.
Okay, now back to this
You
one.
gotta save that,
Didn't
Roy.
say.
Oh, did I not say it?
No.
I knew that. I was just testing you guys. Good job. Okay, the next one then, work orders need to be canceled. Property purchase fell through. Oh, yeah. All right. Copy that. Oops. Don't do that. Redo. Okay, work order. Okay, opportunity to purchase land. That did not go through.
I think we moved that money a while back.
Let's mention that this work order that money has been reverted, right?
Yeah.
But back to the land opportunity
Yeah.
fund. So we'll say cancel.
Isn't that the one where you moved it?
Yeah, that's done. Okay. Notes.
He never did change his mind, huh, Barry?
Well, he called me a little while later and said, "Oh, well, maybe I want to sell it now." I was like, "Well, give me stuff." I just got tired of dealing with him. You know, when we started this, he said he would sell for 150. He had it listed for like 155 originally, and so I don't know. He's kind of out there. That's probably a compliment to him.
That was the nice version.
Yeah, very nice.
Okay, so that should be it. Cancel. Okay, and then one more. 097 557. Demolition of old hotel. Okay. Edit. Then cancel.
Didn't that
No, slog.
didn't happen, did it?
No,
No.
I mean, you have to purchase it first. before you-
Right.
Administration, we're good? And done.
All those are clean.
Okay. And what did I do?
Field work, job value necessary on record. Right here. Priority necessary.
Where are you looking?
Go back one. Oh yeah, right here, priority, underneath your name. Go down to, right there.
Right there.
Can't have that on there. Just clear it out.
Okay. Let's try that.
There you go.
Okay, good. All right. Get that taken care of. So those are, you can just say we close them out.
Yep.
We got it? Okay, now, the last hurrah, Fremont 2 final review. Go that up pretty quick. All right, these are the component projects that you're going to be putting in for. We appreciate that. You got your, looks like you got your work orders in there, and it's just a matter of us doing that webinar, and then you filling out those and submitting them and going through the process. Barry, we really appreciate you being on that last year. I think that I was unable to make that, and then I know that other people showed up, and there was quite the discussion during that meeting. But we appreciate, I'm hoping that you could probably, and I know you're awful busy, but could I count on maybe inviting you again this year to participate in that process?
Sure, I think it's a great process. I mean, I learned a lot, so it's always nice to hear what other people are having as issues too. So I'll be glad to sit on there again.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. All right, so with that then, okay, unique issues. This is our last thing. Appreciate your patience, and let's go ahead and talk this through. And what would you like to say on unique issues, concerns, or ideas?
I just restated my biggest complaint, I guess. I don't know if it's even a complaint, but I just like to say I appreciate all of John's hard work, and yours, Troy, and Brandon, and Amber. You guys dealing with us, and so I do appreciate it. And please don't take some of these comments personal, because I know that you guys don't have the control of what the commission does, or nor what the select committee does. But I just do think those guys need to understand that a lot of us are frustrated with them not following all the hard work being done in the field and by the department, and then they just kind of pick their own things like they're smarter than everybody else is.
Good. Staff, any final
Barry,
comments?
I had one question. For procurement of your major maintenance and stuff, are you guys interested in getting set up with a Quest CDN account to advertise online? Or are you familiar with it, first of all?
Sure. We are. Yeah, we don't have a problem with that. I mean, if we can get, I mean, I guess my idea is we can get a better price. That's great. I mean, we do try to spend as much money as we can here in Grable, but we do understand that we try to get the best deal as possible, especially for bigger projects. But a lot of time for smaller projects, we only going to get local because the mobilization cost for someone coming from Salt Lake or someplace is just not worth the time of place. But sure, we'd like to get set up for that.
Understand. Okay. I'll add your name on the list, and then who would be the person that you'd want on the account? Specific.
Probably me.
Okay.
Okay, how many can we have? Just one?
Yeah, whoever for the district. Yeah, whoever. You can delegate though.
It'll be me then.
And then we haven't done this in the past. We've kind of done it offline, but I want to make sure we capture our tasks. So the task we need before us is we need to reevaluate capacity, right?
Yep.
Capacity and
Building dates.
okay, reevaluate capacity. All right, in reference to modular, right?
Modular need.
To modular need.
That's the biggest one I've got here.
Okay, modular need. Okay, that's one, and then the other one was what?
The redating of the middle school.
Okay, well, here's the deal. Review of dating of middle school, right? Will be done with other, well, through FEA?
In parallel with the study. FEA is not going to actually be the one doing it, it's not their scope, but in parallel with the major maintenance study.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else I'm missing there, Barry? Any other honeydews? Honeydews?
No, that's the main two things. Just a quick question. So just say based on the modular need that you guys say, nope, we don't need them. So you guys are saying that they go away as soon as this lease is up in June. That's what I'm understanding, right?
Yeah, it'll fade out probably within the next year. We'll start making a plan to get rid of them.
Because you got enough money to carry through the next year, right?
Yeah.
So what he's saying is it wouldn't be included in the next biennial budget.
Yeah, what I would do, Barry, is look at when we have to make a transition plan to get rid of them. We can't just say January, July 1st, we're done. What money do we have? How much it's going to cost to demob them, clean it up, and look at it as a little project to get everything done. And that the reason I call it a transition period is there's a lot of districts that have these out there, and you can't just pull the rug out from underneath them on a specific date. We got to make sure we have a plan in place.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's it. Any other final comments before we close out the meeting?
That's all I have.
Barry, always enjoy working with you. We appreciate you, and we know you got a job to do, and you always represent your district well, and that's valuable. So thank you very much, and we'll be. Thank you very much, and we'll be.
Okay. Hey, Troy, one more question. So I guess so on that special ed, where we're looking at 13.9 statewide. I'm assuming the only way we get that changed is to change the new department rules, right? Because that's going to stand until that department rule changes, right?
Right. It's a methodology, and that's a methodology. And no problem, Barry. We would invite send that over to your letter. You can send it directly to Dell or Shelley, carbon copy myself. And we'd be more than happy to, we're going to look at, depending on what happens in this legislative session with your teacher-student ratios, we're probably going to have to redo that methodology anyway. So in the process, we'll review your comments and see if we can change it to be more, maybe a little bit more district centered with regard, instead of the statewide average, a district by district percentage.
Sure.
And that's something, again, that I think we talked about previously, but we'd be more than happy to revisit that since we're going in front of them again anyway.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Okay, we'll stop the recording. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.